For the next 2 weeks, you want to say, talking about the European Championship rather in Germany, and it is a big one later tonight, the semi-final blockbuster between the 2008 and 2012 champions Spain against France, who will be playing in the first semi-finals of this year's European Championship. Now, both sides needed more than 90 minutes to win their quarter-final ties to reach the semi-final, and Spain, we know quite well, will be without midfielder Pedri, who got injured, and against Germany in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, for the French team, they are healthy, and manager Didier Deschamps is expected to field the best squad against the Spanish side, regarded as the most impressive thus far in the tournament. We preview the match in this report.
Spain and France needed more than 90 minutes to win their quarterfinal ties to reach the last four. The Spaniards scored a last-gasp goal to defeat host Germany 2-1 in the quarters and to go through. Spain will be without midfielder Pedri, who got injured against Germany. The French played a goalless draw with Portugal and needed a penalty shootout to reach the semi-final. They are at full strength going into the semi-final matchup. Manager Didier Deschamps is expected to field the best squad against a Spanish side regarded as the most impressive in the tournament. France have scored just 3 goals so far at Euro 2024 and will need to be sharp against a Spain side that has put in 11 goals in 5 matches. Solomon Ajiziogu, TVC News.
Well, it is a big one, and Spain definitely trying to reclaim the title, the last one in 2012. And from the French team, you have to go back, to look at when last they won the title with Kylian Mbappe. They will be hoping to reclaim the European glory once again. Joining me to discuss this is a football intermediary, Jide Ladipo. Jide, it's good to have you on the show. Good evening.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about the Euros.
Okay, let's get into it. We have to start with a big one, Spain against France. For the Spanish team, so many people, pundits and fans alike, think they are the team to beat, that they've been the most impressive. What do you make of the final? It's the semi-final, I beg your pardon, talking about France against Spain.
It's definitely going to be a tight one, despite the fact that the Spanish they've been very outstanding. We saw what they did in the round of 16 against Georgia. They blew them out of the waters. And they eliminated the host, Germany, with a wonderful last-minute goal. But despite that, you've got to look at the French side as a side that has a lot of experience. I mean, they've been down this road before. And they have played, not the best kind of football that one expects France to play. But they're just very good at grinding out the results. Now, when you go to tournament football, one of the things you have to think about is what happens on the day. People were thinking that Belgium was going to outsmart France in that, the last game that they played. But, they were, in the round of 16. But they went past Belgium, with a wicked shot that got deflected. Against Portugal, they weren't the most impressive, but they knew exactly what to do. They marked out Ronaldo out of the game. And we know what happened afterwards. They won by penalty. So the French are a side that they will win by any means necessary. It doesn't have to be pretty. They just know how to get the job done. So anything can happen. But on the balance of play, in terms of how impressive the sides have been, Spain looks like the team to beat. The likes of Nico and Yermi. They've been doing their thing on the flanks. They also have strikers that are scoring. So they seem to have hit form at the right time. So it could be another, trophy in the cabinet for Spain if they keep playing the way they do it. So it could be anyone's game, but it looks like Spain might just edge it, in the semifinals.
Okay, let's look at the stats now, because you mentioned the French team winning by any means necessary. They've not been impressive despite the array of talents they've got offensively, from Griezmann to Mbappe. Rather, 3 goals scored, none from open play, 1 was a penalty, and 2 were own goals. So I'm looking at the stats. You would also realize that, the French team, they've considered just once. So you talk about their struggles offensively. Defensively, they look like a solid side. On the flip side, you have the Spanish team that definitely have it going for them in terms of all of the, attempts right there. Now, what you have is that of France, goal attempts 89. And on target, 21. It shows you how profligate they are in front of goal. As I said earlier, 3 goals scored, none from open play, 1 from the spots, 2 own goals. They've conceded 1, and ball recovery just 200. Not so impressive a start you want to see compared to that of Spain. Now, for the Spanish team, they've had thus far in the competition, 102 attempts at goal, 35 have been on target. They've scored 11 goals. They are the highest scoring side. They've considered just 2. And in terms of ball recovery, they have recovered the ball 230 times. So it shows you that they are also solid defensively, especially when you have a player like Rodri who can always, tidy up the loose ends, you want to say. Do you think that the offensive arsenal, that the offensive power, rather, of the Spanish team would be too much for the French team to bear?
Well, if you go by the looks of how they played throughout the tournament, one could say that they would have that edge. But when you look at the defensive pairing of Koundé and Saliba, Saliba has been outstanding in this tournament. If they have a good game and Spain doesn't score and France managed to score, we know how that is going to end. But again, just going back to what you said, when you look at the way Spain has been attacking, not just the attacking side of the game, but the intensity at which they're playing it. And that's one of the criticisms all these other teams like France, Portugal, and England have been attracting, that they're not moving the ball as quick as a side like Spain. So Spain just seems to be a side that they know how to unlock defenses and they know how to play the ball as quickly as possible. Germany has got one of the best defensives, in Europe. When you look at football in general, but look at the way they broke them down in the quarterfinals. Look at the way they just blew the old Georgia team apart. This was a Georgia team that, Portugal struggled to beat. So when you look at that, you just think that somehow the Spanish will find a way through that defense today. But William Saliba, oh my God, I'm not saying this because I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm just saying this because the whole world is seeing how really good this guy is. And I've been saying to Arsenal fans, I think that's one of the reasons why Arteta has signed a backup centre-back, because this guy might just be sold to a team like Real Madrid who wants to buy him because they have the money to do so. So, France has been solid defensively, but Spain, if they have a good game, they can score. But if France holds the fort and they score, to score against France is going to be hard. So it's going to be a balanced game. It's just a game I'm just looking forward to just watch. I hope it's going to be an incredible game of football.
Okay, quickly, let's look at Kylian Mbappe and his struggles. We know quite well that, proud to breaking his nose, he missed a couple of chances as well in the game. He's not been at his very best. Do you think it's about the playing style of the French team in terms of the setup? Does Didier Deschamps need to change 1 or 2 players and tweak the system a bit to favor Mbappe so that he gets firing? Because the big stars have to emerge on the big stages to deliver. And there's no stage bigger right now for the French team than this semi-final against Spain. So the question is, what do you think the French team should do to get the likes of Mbappe and Griezmann as well firing?
I personally don't think it's much to do with the formation. I just think it's much to do with, what happened in that first game. He got injured. We know he broke his nose. He was out of the squad for a while. So they had to reshuffle it, a couple of things. And then you have to think about, his body physiology as well. Is he even ready to play that kind of game? I felt like it was rushed to get back into the team because, France without Mbappe at that tournament, we all know how that looks like. I personally just think he needs to kind of just get into the game a little bit and get into his groove. If he has, a very good game against Spain and they win, they could go on and win it. I personally don't think he has anything to do with the formation. They've used this formation, over the years. It's worked for them. And, Deschamps has tweaked some things here and there in this tournament. And, they've done what they could do. They got to the semifinals. Today is a different game. It's a semi-final. It's an opportunity for France to turn up. They have the experience. I dare say that they're more experienced than the Spanish side.
Jide, let me put you on the spot, before we turn our attention to the other semi-final. It is tomorrow, quite all right, but hey, we can't always talk about it right from today. Spain against France, how do you see it panning out later tonight?
I think Spain would just peep it, maybe by a goal. If it goes into penalties, then anyone can win it. But I think that it would just be maybe a 1-0 or
Okay.
even like 2-1. Yeah.
Okay, but you're tilting towards the Spanish team.
Oh, definitely,
Okay, we'll see how
without
the we'll see how the pans out. Now let's now attention to the other semi-final. Again, it's probably similar to Spain against France. One team has been impressive thus far, the other yet to live up to expectation. You have England against Netherlands. The Dutch team are the second highest goal scoring side, behind the Spanish team thus far in the competition. The same cannot be said for the English team, who have been underwhelming. How do you see it panning out? Let's start from there. Netherlands against England on the strength of what we've seen over the course of 5 games, from the group stages down to the quarterfinals. How do you see this, panning out?
I think it's going to be a very balanced game. Both sides equally on paper are very good. They have very good players. The performance of the English has been very, very underwhelming getting into this tournament. But they've done the good thing that, every good side, regardless of how they've performed on the pitch, should do. They've got to the semifinals. I feel like they've impressed in this second round as compared to the first round of the tournament when they won 1 and drew 2 against teams that people were expecting them to beat. The Dutch, they've been impressive, but let's be honest, they didn't win their group. So they've not been that uber impressive. The teams that they've beaten to get to where they got to right now, we expect them to beat them. Playing against England is going to be a different ball game entirely. If you ask me how I think it's going to end, well, the English in me wants to be a bit biased. I would say England is going to definitely win this one. I should say that as an adopted Englishman. But, if England doesn't raise the bar, Holland might just peep it. But I personally think that England, they know what is expected of them, and some of their players are beginning to catch form. Bukayo Saka, for example, will be a key player today against the Dutch. Okay. Phil Foden playing in the middle for the first time. I think Southgate finally listened to his critics. He put him in the right position because he has said, that's where I want to play. If those Foden, Saka, and then if Harry Kane can get back into his goal-scoring form, I think England would just win this one, maybe by a goal or 2.
Okay, one man that would definitely prove to be, a thorn in the flesh of the English defense would be Liverpool's Cody Gakpo. Would like to hear from the Netherlands player what he has to say concerning the match, talking about Cody Gakpo. When we get back, I will definitely get your thoughts concerning what the stats are saying about Netherlands against England ahead of tomorrow's crunch semi-final tie. Okay, let me just get your thoughts right away. We're talking about, the stats right here for the Netherlands against England. Jide, Netherlands against England, as I said earlier, the Dutch team have scored 9 goals thus far, the second highest scoring side, and they've had 74 attempts at goal, 20 on target. They've considered 5 goals. In other words, as much as they can score, they can also concede goals right there. 154 ball recoveries, not as much as the Spanish team leading the table right there. I'm talking about, these Dutch stats. For the English team, you have 57 goal attempts, the least you want to say, and 15 have been on target. So Gareth Southgate's sides are struggling offensively. 5 goals scored, 3 considered. Not a very good, stats right there in terms of goals scored and considered and attempts at goal. What do you make of these stats? Do you think this would have a say or an impact in how the semi-final will pan out tomorrow?
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's stats are stats. But, when it gets to the crunch of it, it depends on what you do on the day. Mm-hmm. In terms of goal attempts, the Dutch seem to be the one that, they've been going for it. We saw what they did in the second round game. We saw what they did in the quarterfinals. England just seems to be shy offensively, and I think one of the reasons why that is because of Harry Kane. Harry Kane has not been firing in this tournament. They also don't have the likes of, Jack Grealish or Raheem Sterling, who was scoring, at the last Euros in 2020. We know Raheem Sterling chipped in 3 goals at the last Euros in 2020. But what they've done quite well is they've conceded less, and they've not been too bad. So when I look at it overall, the Dutch seem to have pipped it. Their passing accuracy is like really, really good at 88.6%. but they've conceded more goals than the English, and that's one thing that they have to be wary about. The English haven't scored as much; they've scored 5 goals, but they've been able to do what is important, which is concede less and make sure that you don't lose. Yeah. So in terms of ball recovery, the English seems to be doing it better. So that means that they're definitely working harder on the ball. If you look at the last game against the Swiss, they were very, very good at recovering the ball. I felt like they closed down much better than they did in the previous games. And if they can do that against the Dutch in the semifinals, you know, the Dutch could be in for a surprise. This is anyone's game, but like I said, the English in me will be giving it to the English team. So football's definitely coming home.
Okay, we'll see. The last time that slogan was chanted across the whole of Wembley, or England as it were, we know it ended up in Rome, not home as it were. But we can only wish the Three Lions the very best. Thank you so much for your time on the show this evening.
It's a pleasure to be here to talk about the Euro.
Thank you so much. Yeah.